Gentlemen, for yielding. I'm always amazed by the debates on this floor. And I think they're healthy. But I like to listen to what people say and what people desire. Let me explain to what I've heard a desire to deal with the water crisis in California. People ask that whatever we do, do not change the Endangered Species Act. Could we work together on both sides? Could we make sure we stay within the biological opinion? Well, for maybe some of those people that are watching at home, they may not have watched the last 3 terms of this Congress. Because, this drought is not new. But what's interesting, if you just go back in this decade of the snowpack in California, let's go back 5 years. We had 160% of snowpack. An amazing year for California. But you know what was allocated from the State Water Project for water? 80%. 80% out of 160. The next year, we had only 55%. In 2015, we only had 8% of snowpack. This year was an El Nino, so we got up to 87%. But if you look at the numbers, we've only pumped about the same amount of water as we did when we had 8%. My parents would always read me bedtime stories. And the one I loved the most was one when it talked about a grasshopper and an ant. It was interesting how one of them would save for that rainy day. In this case, it'd be putting the water away. It'd be saving for that next year, because as we go through these years, our snowpack is always not the same. So if we're not pumping the water down, where is it going? It's going to the ocean. And so for the last 3 terms, we have tried to solve the water crisis. And every time, we've heard these same arguments. So every term, we did something different. A term ago, we got together with Republicans and Democrats, and we worked with our Senate leaders on the other side. But when it got time to make a final decision, I was told, no, we couldn't do this because it didn't go through committee. And there wasn't enough people in the room. So we said, all right, well, we'll go back to the drawing board. So this time, we went through and we put Republicans and Democrats in the room. You know what's interesting? It just so happens Republicans are in the majority, Democrats are in the minority, but not in that room. There were more Democrats than there were Republicans, and we stayed months in there talking. And we came to a lot of agreements. Maybe some people that were in the room won't say that on the outside, but on the inside, they agreed to a lot of the pieces of the legislation. Well, I will tell you that those pieces that we agreed to are in this bill. Because you know what? We listened. We don't change the Endangered Species Act. We don't go beyond the biological opinion. So you're concerned about fish? We say in this piece of legislation to pump higher unless there is a concern and harming of the fish. And you don't have to come back to Congress to change the level of pumping. So those solutions I hear on the floor are in the bill. So I think it's about time that we stop making false accusations and actually stand for what we need. And you know what? In these rooms, I heard a lot about desalination. And I said, I'll help with that. Because the whole concept of desalination is we'll spend a lot of money with a lot of energy to take that ocean water and take the salt out of it and make it fresh water. But don't you think it'd kind of be smart of us first to make sure that our fresh water is not becoming salt water first? That's all we're asking here. We're asking, let's live within the biological opinion. We're protecting the Endangered Species Act, but we're doing something different in California. We're planning for the future. We're planning for those years that you won't have the big snowpack. We're planning for the years that California continues to grow. We're also planning for those people who work in the fields. We're planning for the people who want to build the homes. Central Valley may be a little different than every place else, But those jobs are just as important as any job anywhere else in California. So yes, we have sat in the rooms. Yes, there were more on the minority side than in the majority. Yes, we listened to you. And we took what we heard and we put it into a bill. Because the other thing I heard when we couldn't do this is that it had to be regular order. That's why it could not be in the omnibus bill, even though that was an idea from my Senate colleague in the other house. So you know what? This is regular order on the floor of the House with the ideas that we heard, and it's in the bill. I yield back.